There's a story of a man who once walked through a quiet garden at dawn, noticing how the first light touched the leaves and the soft hum of life all around him. He paused, feeling a pull towards something intangible, not just the beauty of the morning, but a sense of presence, of connection that seemed to reach beyond the senses. He realized that the spaces we crave, the closeness we seek with another, are rarely about what we can see or touch. They are invitations to feel, to understand, and to recognize something deeper within ourselves, mirrored in someone else. It was in that stillness, in the quiet longing, that he understood. The places we are drawn to, the neck, the lips, the forehead, carry messages our conscious mind often misses, whispers from the unconscious that tell us who we are and what we need. The neck is one of the most intimate yet overlooked areas of the body. It is not just a physical space. It carries symbolic weight. In Jungian psychology, it represents a bridge between the conscious and unconscious self. When someone craves closeness here, it is rarely just about sensation. It is about trust, exposure, and a willingness to be seen. The neck is delicate and unguarded, and leaning into it is a symbolic act of surrendering to connection. The act of touching or being near this area evokes vulnerability, and it speaks to a deeper emotional resonance that goes beyond simple attraction. The neck, in many ways, mirrors the soft undercurrents of desire. It is not just a place of warmth, but a place where the body naturally exposes itself. In Jungian terms, this exposure is symbolic of showing the self beneath the mask we present to the world. Everyone wears a persona, a curated version of themselves, but the neck is less defended. Craving closeness here is almost an unconscious recognition of the other's inner self. It is a subtle invitation to bridge distance between two minds and hearts, allowing intimacy that is both physical and profoundly emotional. When someone is drawn to this area, it often reflects the need to connect with another's vulnerability while offering their own in return. Jung would call this an interplay between the conscious desire for connection and the unconscious yearning for recognition and affirmation. The neck becomes a conduit for communication without words. It is a silent conversation where trust, attraction, and acceptance converge. The longing for closeness here can reveal the depth of emotional bonding, as it requires a careful navigation of personal boundaries, respect, and awareness of shared space. Craving intimacy in this part of the body also touches the shadow, the aspects of ourselves we do not always recognize. In Jungian thought, the shadow contains desires, fears, and instincts that remain hidden until acknowledged. When someone gravitates toward the neck, it may reflect unconscious longings, perhaps the need to care, be cared for, or reconcile with suppressed emotions. The neck, in this sense, is not just a spot of physical closeness, but a symbolic mirror reflecting what each person seeks in themselves and in their connection with another. Ultimately, the fascination with the neck is intertwined with the journey of understanding intimacy and emotional wholeness. It is not just about closeness or affection, but about acknowledging vulnerability and offering it consciously. When the neck becomes a site of connection, it is an unspoken acknowledgement of trust and care. The desire to be close here is deeply human. It reflects the ongoing interplay between desire and respect, between unconscious longing and conscious expression. In this subtle, quiet way, the neck reveals the profound layers of human intimacy. The forehead is a place that carries both subtlety and profound meaning. Unlike other areas that may immediately signal passion or desire, the forehead embodies respect, recognition, and acknowledgement. In Jungian psychology, it represents the persona, the outward mask each person wears to navigate the world. When someone craves closeness here, it reflects more than a physical impulse. It is an unconscious yearning to connect with the authentic self beneath the mask. A forehead kiss is a gesture of affirmation. It is a quiet way of saying, "I see you as you truly are, and I honor that self." This act resonates deeply with the psyche, offering reassurance and validation. The symbolic weight of the forehead extends to the realm of protection and care. Touching this area gently signals a desire to shield what is precious. In Jungian terms, it is akin to recognizing the inner light of another person, a recognition of their individuality and wholeness. The forehead is often exposed, yet it carries no obvious defenses, making it a space where emotional sincerity can flow freely. When closeness is directed here, it is an invitation to let down walls, to acknowledge one another's inner world, and to experience a connection that is rooted in respect and understanding rather than raw impulse. A craving for this kind of intimacy speaks to the interplay between conscious affection and unconscious desire for recognition. The act of drawing near the forehead allows the unconscious mind to communicate its need for acceptance. In Jungian thought, such gestures often reflect deeper archetypal patterns, the longing for a nurturing presence, for reassurance, and for a symbolic acknowledgement of self-worth. It is not about possession or immediate gratification. It is about the alignment of souls in a quiet, respectful way. This intimacy nurtures a sense of emotional security that is often overlooked in more overt expressions of desire. The forehead also engages the shadow, revealing parts of ourselves that are unacknowledged or underappreciated. Craving closeness here may reflect a longing to reconcile with unexpressed emotions, or to see aspects of ourselves mirrored in another. Jung would suggest that such gestures illuminate the hidden layers of connection, bridging conscious awareness with deeper emotional currents. The forehead becomes a site where trust, recognition, and care converge, offering a pathway to emotional integration. It is a subtle, powerful reminder that closeness is not always loud or intense. It can be gentle, protective, and profoundly affirming. Ultimately, the forehead is more than a simple area to be touched. It symbolizes the recognition of the whole self, the silent acknowledgement that each individual carries their own inner universe. When someone is drawn to this area, it reflects a deep, unconscious respect for that universe, an awareness that emotional intimacy is rooted in understanding, trust, and mutual recognition. The act becomes a dialogue without words, a meeting of minds and hearts that validates individuality while fostering connection. In this quiet, symbolic way, the forehead carries a profound significance in the language of closeness and human connection. The lips are one of the most symbolic parts of the human body. In Jungian terms, they are the threshold between the inner world and outward expression, the bridge between thought, feeling, and action. Craving closeness here is rarely just a matter of physical attraction. It reflects a deeper unconscious desire to connect with another person's authentic self. The lips convey emotion, intention, and intimacy in ways words cannot. They are mirrors, reflecting vulnerability and openness. When someone is drawn to them, it often signals a yearning to understand, acknowledge, and merge with aspects of another's emotional and psychological being. Lips are also deeply connected to communication. Beyond spoken language, they express subtle nuances of affection, curiosity, and recognition. From a Jungian perspective, desire for this area may reflect the interplay between conscious awareness and unconscious impulses. It is an expression of the need to be understood and accepted without pretense. The act of drawing near the lips is both symbolic and real. Symbolic in that it represents a desire to merge emotional worlds, and real in that it creates a tangible sense of closeness. The lips become a medium where the conscious mind and unconscious emotions meet. Craving intimacy at this point also highlights the tension between vulnerability and trust. The lips are sensitive and exposed, demanding both courage and mutual consent to engage fully. Jung would suggest that this reflects the shadow, the hidden aspects of ourselves that long to be seen and accepted. When desire is directed here, it is a subtle acknowledgement of what is unspoken and unacknowledged within the psyche. The unconscious mind often communicates its longing through subtle gestures, and the lips become a site where these impulses are given shape and meaning. The lips also symbolize the dance between connection and individuation. Craving this closeness does not mean losing oneself. Rather, it is a recognition of the other's presence while maintaining one's own integrity. In Jungian thought, intimacy in this area reflects a desire to reconcile dualities, the self and the other, the conscious and the unconscious. It is a dialogue without words, a meeting of energies that affirms both identity and connection. The lips thus become not only a physical point of contact, but also a symbolic interface for understanding, acceptance, and emotional resonance. Finally, the lips reveal the depth of desire as more than mere impulse. They are a canvas upon which the psyche expresses longing, affection, and recognition. The unconscious mind often seeks validation here, a reflection of emotional needs and unspoken feelings. Craving closeness at this site embodies both conscious affection and unconscious yearning, blending them into an act that communicates far beyond physicality. The lips, in their delicate, expressive way, hold the power to convey trust, vulnerability, and intimate understanding, serving as one of the most profound connectors of human experience. Desire is often misunderstood as a purely physical phenomenon, but in Jungian thought, it carries far deeper meaning. When someone craves closeness, it is rarely just about the body. Every act of longing is a reflection of unconscious processes, archetypal patterns, and emotional needs. The specific places we gravitate toward are symbols, not just flesh. Desire beyond physicality is about connection, recognition, and resonance. It is the psyche expressing what cannot always be said in words. This form of desire seeks acknowledgement, intimacy, and understanding. The physical act is merely a vessel for expressing the invisible currents of emotion, the subtle interplay between inner worlds that yearn to touch each other. The longing that surpasses the physical is rooted in the unconscious. Jung taught that the unconscious communicates through symbols, dreams, and subtle actions. When someone is drawn to certain gestures of closeness, it is often an unconscious recognition of something within themselves reflected in another. The body becomes a map of hidden emotional landscapes, and desire traces these contours. In this way, what is craved is not just external. It mirrors internal needs, fears, and aspirations. Physicality is only the surface. Beneath it lies the heart of connection, a dialogue between minds and souls that transcends mere sensation. When desire moves beyond the physical, it often involves empathy and emotional resonance. It is the recognition of shared vulnerability, a mutual acknowledgement of what is tender and sacred in each person. Jung would describe this as an interaction between conscious awareness and archetypal longing. The urge to connect is not purely self-serving. It is relational, symbolic, and transformative. Each act of closeness communicates trust, acceptance, and acknowledgement of the other's inner world. It affirms that intimacy is not just a physical transaction, but a reflection of mutual recognition, a meeting of conscious minds and unconscious hearts. This deeper form of desire also illuminates the shadow. The shadow contains all the parts of ourselves we do not fully accept, our fears, unspoken needs, and unexplored emotions. When someone experiences longing that goes beyond physicality, it can reveal the hidden currents of the psyche. Craving closeness is a way of externalizing internal dynamics, seeing in another the parts of ourselves that we might otherwise suppress. In Jungian terms, desire becomes a path toward integration, where emotional awareness and unconscious needs converge, offering the potential for growth, understanding, and wholeness. Ultimately, desire beyond physicality is a bridge between instinct and consciousness. It is the psyche's way of seeking validation, connection, and meaning. While the body provides a medium, the act of longing carries symbolic weight, reflecting deeper emotional truths. Each gesture, each focus of attention, is an expression of archetypal drives, unconscious recognition, and emotional resonance. Desire, in this sense, is a dialogue, not just between people, but between the conscious self and the inner world. Understanding it requires attention, empathy, and reflection, revealing the profound complexity of human intimacy. Longing often carries a hidden depth that most people rarely recognize. In Jungian psychology, this hidden dimension is referred to as the shadow, the part of ourselves that we keep unconscious, unacknowledged, or repressed. The shadow contains our fears, desires, insecurities, and impulses, all of which influence how we relate to others. When someone experiences intense longing, it is not only a reflection of conscious desire, but also an unconscious dialogue with these hidden aspects of themselves. Craving closeness, attention, or connection can reveal a need to reconcile with what has been suppressed or ignored, allowing these unconscious elements to emerge and be integrated into awareness. The shadow manifests in longing because our unacknowledged needs seek expression, often through subtle or symbolic gestures. Jung suggested that what we deny internally tends to find an outlet externally, through the way we perceive others or are drawn toward them. This means that desire is not purely about the other person. It is a mirror reflecting the unexamined parts of ourselves. For example, craving reassurance, attention, or intimacy may reveal deeper fears of rejection, inadequacy, or invisibility. In this sense, longing is never simply physical. It is an encounter with the unconscious, an invitation to explore the hidden dynamics that shape human attraction and connection. Craving specific forms of intimacy can also highlight the tension between the conscious self and the shadow. While the conscious mind may rationalize desire as simple affection or connection, the unconscious often operates with subtle symbolic motives. A kiss, a touch, or even a glance may carry layers of meaning that the conscious mind does not immediately recognize. Jung believed that this interplay between conscious awareness and the shadow is essential for personal growth. By paying attention to the hidden reasons behind longing, individuals can gain insight into their own psyche, understanding both the drives that shape their behavior and the unacknowledged emotions that influence their relationships. The shadow aspect of longing also connects to vulnerability and trust. Hidden within our unconscious desires are fears of being judged, misunderstood, or rejected. When longing emerges, it is often a test of whether we feel safe enough to reveal these vulnerable parts. Craving closeness can, therefore, be a reflection of a deeper need to be seen fully, including our imperfections and insecurities. Jung would argue that this is a crucial aspect of emotional development. Learning to recognize and accept the shadow in oneself and others allows for authentic connection, empathy, and a more integrated sense of self. Finally, the shadow's presence in longing reveals that desire is never entirely surface level. It contains both conscious and unconscious layers, bridging what we know about ourselves with what we have yet to understand. This makes human connection deeply symbolic. When someone is drawn to another, their attraction often carries subtle messages from the unconscious, an invitation to explore hidden fears, unspoken needs, and unresolved emotions. Recognizing the shadow in longing allows desire to become a pathway for self-reflection, emotional growth, and authentic intimacy. In this way, craving is not merely an instinctual response. It is a dialogue with the inner self, a reflection of the complex interplay between conscious awareness and hidden dimensions of the psyche. Intimacy is not just a physical or emotional experience. In Jungian terms, it is deeply tied to the process of individuation, the journey toward becoming a fully realized self. True connection with another person can act as a mirror, reflecting aspects of ourselves that we may not yet recognize. Desire and closeness, when experienced consciously, provide opportunities to confront, understand, and integrate parts of the psyche that have been hidden, ignored, or suppressed. When someone craves closeness, it is often a subtle nudge from the unconscious, encouraging awareness of how inner needs, fears, and desires influence our relationships and our sense of self. Absolutely. Let's dive deeper. When someone loves deeply but keeps their distance, it is often misunderstood as indifference or weakness, but psychologically, it comes from a profound place. At its core, this behavior reflects a certain awareness of themselves and of the other person. The individual recognizes the intensity of their feelings, and they understand that closeness, if forced or premature, could disrupt the natural flow of connection. Deep love carries patience. It observes rather than demands. This distance is often tied to self-awareness. A person who truly loves understands the weight of emotional dependency and projection. They see that rushing intimacy or imposing themselves can create expectations that are harmful rather than nurturing. By stepping back, they allow the relationship to unfold organically, giving both parties space to grow individually. This is not avoidance. It is a conscious decision rooted in respect and emotional intelligence. Another layer is vulnerability. Loving deeply requires exposing parts of oneself that are fragile, sometimes even hidden from the world. Keeping distance is a protective mechanism, a way to ensure that the depth of their care is not taken for granted or misunderstood. It is a silent acknowledgement that love without boundaries can become suffocating, even when intentions are pure. Furthermore, this distance often mirrors a desire for the other person to feel fully seen and not controlled. True affection does not insist. It observes. It wants the loved one to arrive at their own understanding, to recognize and embrace the connection in their own time. This restraint shows a maturity that is rare in modern relationships, where immediacy and constant validation are often mistaken for love. From a Jungian perspective, such distance also reflects the interplay of the conscious and unconscious. Deep love touches something archetypal, the recognition of the other as a mirror to one's own soul. By holding back, the lover allows the other person's unconscious to engage, to confront their own desires, fears, and potentials. The distance becomes a form of silent guidance, an invitation to self-reflection, which ultimately deepens the connection. This behavior also teaches a subtle but powerful lesson. Love is not about possession. The one who loves deeply understands that true attachment is paradoxical. It grows stronger when it is not forced. By maintaining distance, they are cultivating a space where authenticity can flourish, where both individuals can meet as complete beings rather than incomplete halves seeking validation. Ultimately, the act of keeping distance while loving deeply is a sign of courage. It demonstrates an ability to balance desire with restraint, passion with patience, and vulnerability with strength. It is an expression of love that trusts time, respects boundaries, and honors the transformative power of emotional presence without overwhelming the other person. If you want, I can also give you a few vivid examples or real-life scenarios that illustrate this kind of deep, distant love, ones that feel almost like storytelling but rooted in Jungian psychology. It would make this concept very tangible. Do you want me to do that? Certainly. When a person loves deeply yet keeps their distance, it often confounds those around them because love is usually associated with closeness, attention, and constant presence. But deep love does not always express itself through proximity. Sometimes it speaks through restraint. The person who loves this way understands the weight of emotions, both their own and the other person's, and recognizes that overwhelming the other with intensity can do more harm than good. They intuitively know that love is not possession. It is a mirror in which the other can see themselves reflected and acknowledged without pressure or manipulation. Distance in deep love often comes from a profound sense of respect. The individual sees that genuine affection cannot thrive under control or expectation. They maintain space because they value the other's autonomy, trusting that the connection will grow naturally rather than being forced. This behavior is rooted in self-awareness. They understand the fragility of human emotion and the dangers of attachment that seeks immediate gratification. They know when to step forward and when to step back, which requires courage and emotional discipline. There is also a protective element in this distance. To love deeply is to expose oneself to vulnerability, to risk being misunderstood or hurt. By keeping a measured distance, the person safeguards their heart while still holding the other in a space of care and reverence. This is not a lack of commitment, but a conscious effort to ensure that the bond develops in authenticity rather than dependency. From a psychological perspective, particularly through a Jungian lens, this distance is a form of invitation rather than withdrawal. It allows the other person to confront their own inner world, their desires, insecurities, and potentials without interference. The lover becomes a mirror and a silent guide, facilitating growth through presence without imposition. Love, in this sense, becomes transformative rather than merely comforting. It awakens self-awareness in both parties. This integration is not one-sided. When two people engage in closeness, each individual's journey toward individuation interacts with the others, creating a shared psychological space. Craving a particular form of intimacy, such as emotional or physical closeness, reflects a desire to reconcile internal contradictions. Jung would suggest that these impulses reveal both the conscious longings and unconscious archetypal patterns within each person. The process of being seen, understood, and reflected in another allows for personal growth, helping individuals recognize their own needs, desires, and vulnerabilities, while also fostering empathy and understanding for the other. Intimacy also facilitates the reconciliation of dualities within the self. Desire brings the conscious awareness of attraction, care, and connection into dialogue with unconscious impulses, hidden fears, and unexpressed emotions. By responding to these desires mindfully, individuals can navigate the balance between dependence and autonomy, affection and selfhood. Jung saw this as central to individuation, the capacity to form meaningful relationships without losing the essence of the self. The craving for connection is therefore not merely relational, it is symbolic of the mind's drive toward wholeness, integrating scattered or suppressed aspects of the psyche into conscious awareness. Finally, the integration of intimacy and individuation reveals the transformative power of human connection. Desire, closeness, and longing are not simply expressions of attraction. They are mirrors that reflect the unconscious, invitations to explore the depths of the self, and opportunities to grow. When approached consciously, intimacy allows individuals to navigate vulnerability, acknowledge hidden aspects of the psyche, and foster emotional resilience. Craving closeness, therefore, is an essential part of psychological development, signaling an ongoing dance between conscious understanding and unconscious impulses, between self-discovery and connection with another. In this way, desire is both deeply personal and profoundly relational, serving as a guide along the path of individuation. In the end, What we crave in another is never just physical. Every gesture, every desire is a reflection of the inner world, a dialogue between the conscious mind and the hidden depths of the unconscious. The neck, the forehead, the lips. They are not mere points of touch, but gateways into trust, recognition, and emotional truth. Desire reveals both what we seek in another and what remains unacknowledged within ourselves. By understanding these longings, by seeing them as expressions of vulnerability, shadow, and the journey toward wholeness, we can approach intimacy with awareness and care. True connection is not about possession. It is about recognition, acceptance, and the unfolding of the self in the presence of another.